Okay, welcome back. This is our final video, video 5. In this video, we're gonna wrap up our animation and then we're gonna talk about all these different options for us to be able to take our animations and actually make them move on screen. I also wanna show you what our summer camps are and see if this is something that you may be interested in, and also checking out how these videos work when we actually digitize them on our. Okay, let's go. Okay, welcome back. We've got frame 9 here. Let's go frame 10. I'm gonna do the magic shuffle and I'm going to put a new piece of paper, and we are gonna label it frame 10. Now this doesn't necessarily have to be your last frame. You could keep going if you wanted to. We might actually do one more frame just to kind of take it to the next level, maybe to encourage you as well. One thing that I want to start out with when we create this illustration here is I want to know where my feet are, because technically our character is now picking up and he's just going to rise right up. So if I can kind of trace my feet, do a direct trace on my feet, then that's one thing I know that'll be there, that'll be exactly the same when my character stands, okay? So that's one thing that we can do. The next thing is we need to find out where this character stands, or where his head is, okay? So if we were to kind of go back to the other frames, we would kind of see that our top of our head would probably be right around here, okay? And then we know that our mid frame would be around here. So obviously if he was gonna stand up, our character would probably be that tall, okay? If you want to, you could actually probably go back to your previous frames and trace just to get that exact. So one thing I know for sure is that my head is probably gonna be around this big, okay? I say let's do 3/4 perspective up. Now, what I'm gonna have here is I'm gonna have this opportunity to kind of fill in this middle here. Now I know my legs are here, I know my body's gonna be right in the middle, so I'm gonna kind of take my body out maybe to something like this, okay? And then I've got perfect connection straight to my legs, okay? If you need to adjust that, go ahead and adjust that a little bit. But ultimately, if I could have this character looking like it's standing up, that is what I want. Okay? What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna draw this, let's get these eyes in here. I'm gonna go very happy eyes. I like head up. I'm gonna keep my eyes down because I want my character to be kind of embracing this cat with a really great smile. Okay, let's get that little ear in there. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to draw the cat. Now I want to make sure that my cat is resting right on my arms. It's right on the tip of my character's hands, holding it, embracing this cat right here. So what I want to do is, I'm just going to start out with the cat head before I draw the arms, so I can kind of draw the arms wrapped around it. So I'm going to draw the cat head here, okay? Relatively the same size as my cat down there. If you wanted to, you could do a direct trace, okay? I'm going to do 3/4 perspective up on my cat. I'm going to have my cat kind of looking at his new partner, okay? I'm going to get those eyes, one eye big, one eye small. Let's get those pupils up there. Let's do one little ear, one big ear. Okay. Now, what I think would be interesting is if I did the rest of the cat, and then we could kind of put the arms and hands around it. So I'm just going to kind of do a cat like this, just a regular body, and then I'm just going to kind of have my leg out like this. And a nice tail. Okay. Now's the opportunity where I'm going to put my hand. Now we could maybe open his mouth a little bit more. Okay. Now what I want to do is let's put this first hand out here. Let's have the hand that's wrapping around. We could get away with it just by putting fingers here. I think that we could probably just get away with doing that. Make sure that maybe one is longer, then they progressively get smaller, just so it kind of shows a little perspective. Let's make this arm here. Let's have this shoulder up a little bit. Let's take it down to the elbow. Let's have that cat covered up a little bit. Let's have that cat cover up that little elbow right there. Let's take this arm and let's have this over top of this cat right here. Let's taper that a little bit. So the cat is going to get covered up a little bit. I'm going to erase that just so you're not confused. And then let's do a nice hand. You know, we could probably do a nice rectangle that is kind of skewed a little bit. Okay. Let's get the thumb out here to kind of hold everything else, and the rest is just going to be kind of slowly wrapped around his cat friend. Okay. However you want to go about doing that. Might make the hand a little bit fatter. Okay, we could get these paws of this cat in here. Okay, maybe just one right here, and then a little 3/4 perspective one away. Okay, boom, frame 10. Okay, now technically you could finish your animation this way. Okay, and your animation would be done. My thing is, if we want to take it to the next level, let's just add one more frame. Okay, let's add one more frame. Let's do frame 10. What we want to do is we want to try to keep this same position. Let's move the head down, but let's actually bring the cat out. Okay, so I'm going to get a new piece of paper. I'm going to grab a brand new piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to label this frame 11. Okay, frame 11. I'm going to do my magic shuffle. Magic shuffle, magic shuffle. Okay. Now, I can clearly see frame 10 through there. What I think I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to keep my feet and my body relatively the same, so I can kind of do a direct trace off of that. So while we're already working on this character, working on the body, since you know it's a direct trace, you can probably just go ahead and do as much as you possibly can with the direct trace of the body that still exists. I'm going to change the head. I'm going to not draw the arms because I'm going to change the arms and I'm going to change the head, but just the head rotation. I'm going to do 3/4 perspective just straight on. Okay, so I'm going to have my cat just move down. I have my cat head just move down. Okay. And I want my arms out. I'm going to have my arms out. Okay. Let's bring that gato out. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3/4 perspective with my eyes right here. I'm going to do one eye big, one eye a little bit smaller. Okay. I'm still going to keep a relatively happy face, but I'm going to make sure that my eyes, my line of sight, is looking kind of right in this area here. Okay. I'm going to add my nose, and I'm going to continue with my smile. Okay, let me get my ear in there, 3/4 perspective. Let's do a flip. Let's just make sure that we're good right here. I feel like my smile got a little bit smaller, so I'm going to go in there and tweak that out a little bit. It shouldn't get any smaller. It should only get bigger. Okay, I feel like I could increase it at the edges right here. Okay. So I have my character, he's very happy, he's bringing this cat out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this cat and I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna take this cat that I already drew and I'm gonna slide it out under my frame 11. So I can see a nice direct trace. I'm gonna put it in a really great position, okay? And then I'm just gonna trace this cat. Why not? All the work is already done, okay? If we wanted to, we could just do a direct trace. I might do a direct trace, but I think it's important to probably change the direction of the eyes because now she should be looking at the character. Okay. One thing that we could probably change is the hands. Okay. I'm going to put the little arms over there. Let's still keep these fingers right here. 1, 2, 3. And the tail, Maybe let's move the tail in a little bit. The rest of this stuff can be a direct trace. Remember, we drew some of this body of the cat already, and then we kind of covered it up. This is 3/4 perspective, so we're gonna have another leg there, okay? Oh, I moved my cat. I did not register my paper again, so that obviously did not work. Let's see now that we have admiring their character, their cat, okay? One thing I'm missing is the other arm. I think all we'll probably need is just something over there like that. And that is an extra frame 11. Okay, you did it. Congratulations. We finished all our frames. Now, we drew really simple characters in pencil. If we really want to show our animations to the world, we really want to ink them with black pens. So what I want everybody to do is grab your ink pens and let's walk you through how to ink your frames. Okay, now when we have all our frames done, the next thing that we're going to want to do is try to ink each frame so we can scan it and we can actually create an animation from it. So I think it's best to draw our characters very simple like this to start out, especially when we're animating. I don't think we should animate clothes and all that kind of stuff until after it's done. We just want to animate just in simple shapes. Now we want to animate this, we want to ink this, so one thing that we want to make sure is that we don't make this character too difficult because we actually have to replicate all the clothes and everything that we put on this character each time, okay? So what I suggest is that you do a character that's relatively simple for your first time. So I'm gonna go ahead and just finish drawing this character, especially the things that I didn't waste time doing when I was animating the character, okay? Now all these things are gonna have to stay consistent so your character looks the same while you're animating it. I'm just gonna go really simple. I'm just gonna add a t-shirt onto this character here. I wanna make sure that when I'm adding clothes that they kind of stick out a little bit, that they don't just look like lines at the ends of each arms and bottoms of each leg. Just putting a line there is not going to suffice. You actually should kind of show that these clothes have weight and texture and lay on the character. I'm gonna finish this character up here. Let's get these lines down here. Now, I'm going to grab an ink pen. Now, we have multiple choices here. I have a thick Sharpie right here. I have a little bit more of a thinner marker right here. I think what's best is to have at least 2 markers with you, one thin and one thick, so you can do really thick areas and not waste all your time with a thick marker or a thin marker and just be sitting there all day like scribbling and scribbling. So for his hair, I definitely want my character's hair to be black, so I'm just going to take this really thick marker and I'm going to fill in just this solid black area. Now I wouldn't ever use a big thick black marker for the rest of this animation. You're going to ruin all your work, all that hard work that you put into it. You'll never get these thin lines going over top of your animation. A lot of that stuff is just going to get muddy and it's going to get a little lost. Okay, I have this marker here seems to be a little bit thinner, so I'm going to kind of take that out to do the rest of my inking. Okay, I'm going to make this here. Again, I'm still going to try to watch how much pressure I put on this because I do want to show a little bit of difference in my line weight. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get these eyes in here. Now the cool thing about inking is all the information is there. So you need to try to be as smooth and as clean as you possibly can, okay? You don't have to concentrate on the content of the drawing. The drawing's already done. So all you need to do is try to create something that makes the character look interesting and more alive, okay? And something that looks a little bit more polished and finished. Okay, I'm going to have some nice stylized lines in here. Okay, again, you don't want to go crazy. You don't want to do too much stuff that you can't repeat each time. Okay, so that's talking about extra pockets or a hat or something like that. Even a crazy design on the t-shirt. Okay, that could actually become a little bit laborious after a while, animating each time, and then it could actually change and maybe throw off your animation. So my suggestion is right now, Don't make it too hard on yourself, okay? I'm putting all my wrinkles in here, but I'm not going crazy, just enough. Okay, I'm gonna get my shoe in here. Inking is the time to refine your character, to add detail. Okay, and then you can kind of come back and change that after you animate. Same thing with my second character right here. Give me an opportunity to kind of clean it up, make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, and so that's what you should do to your next 10 to 11 frames. Now, one thing that I want to warn you to is that this is going to be a lot of work. So if you put a lot of stuff in there, then things are going to get confusing. One thing I want you to know is this background is going to disappear, and all we're going to have is this character and this character, especially if we're able to put it in some kind of software. Okay. The question is, how do we digitize our artwork? So what I'd like to do is, I like to make sure that I take good photos, and then you grab any kind of stop motion application, either on your iPhone or your iPad, and you can put all these in there and actually play your animation back. But first you have to get really good photos. So what I'm gonna do is, first I'm gonna lay down an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and make myself a little bit of a grid, a little stand for when I put my pieces of paper down to shoot. They're always gonna be in the right area, okay? So I'm gonna take a little piece of tape right there, little piece of tape right there, make sure that I get a little corner to be able to snap my piece of paper into each time. So every time I shoot a photo, they stay the same place each time. The frames do not move. So when you play back your animation, it's going to be really smooth, okay? Perfect. So each time you put a frame in, you hit it right there, you shoot the photo. Grab another frame, stick it right there, shoot the photo. Put it in any kind of stop motion and you should be fine. Okay, we are back. Now, the goal is to take these frames that we did and we need to now clean them up. Now, technically, you could go with an ink pen and try to go over your pencil, but if your pencil's too dark, it's kind of best to just trace over each frame so you get a fresh new drawing and then you can ink that drawing up. So I suggest you trace it very light in pencil and then you grab your ink pen to add all the details. Now, as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm adding clothes. I'm basically taking this shape of this person that wasn't really defined while we were animating it and kind of adding all those clothes and actually adding kind of secondary animations. For example, the cat and his tail, that would be a secondary animation. Also, at the same time, I'm kind of changing things and kind of adding more detail, adding more depth. One thing I want you to notice is that my character is very simple. He only has a t-shirt on, pants, and sneakers. The idea is that I can maintain that look each time and it's not all that laborious. So every time I see this cat, every time I see this kid, I'm trying to go ahead and refine and change things. I'm trying to make sure that my line is clean. It is at least made with intention. When you have really clean line quality, or at least art line quality that has intention behind it, it really makes your characters look 10 times better. So that's why it's really interesting and really good for you to take your time, and I suggest retracing your frames. Sometimes when you trace your frames with pencil, the only way you can trace them is if the pencil's really dark. So it's really understandable that you might not be able to use those 10 frames that we previously did. You might just have to trace over each one of those. I'm of course going to make a background for this character. This background is going to have a little bit of perspective in there just so it's a little bit more interesting. And of course I am working digitally, so I'm going to have to actually make my characters opaque so they actually stand out in front of the background. With your situation is if you are on any kind of Procreate or any kind of animation tool, you might be able to add a background and then add these above and erase the background, the white background of these characters, so it's transparent on the background that you just drew. So I'm filling all these characters just so we can kind of see how this works when we put the background over top of it. This is typically done in animation, especially digital animation. Of course, if this was hand drawn, it would be a cell, which would be relatively transparent, so it would lay over the background. We don't have the luxury of that, especially since we were drawing the whole time on white paper. I'm using Procreate, so I have to actually make these characters opaque to stand out in front of the background. Okay. What I want to do is I want to introduce you to some of my students' work. Now, we have an animation summer camp. We do it all online, and we do pretty much the same curriculum you do. The difference is the students send us their background and all their frames, and then my team digitizes them, and then we turn it into an animated video. Check it out. Okay, congratulations. You just finished all these 5 videos. You learned how to animate, you learned how to draw cartoons, you learned all kinds of stuff. I really want you to continue with these lessons on your own and really try to create things that inspire people, that tell stories, and keep things very creative. I really appreciate it. I want everybody to stay safe. Thank you very much for joining the Sirron Norris Academy. We'll see you soon.